This next presentation is Ken usually brings something unique to the conference. It's usually very entertaining, and it usually applies to exactly what we're doing in this conference. He's been working with a lot of different event coordinators and conferences all across the country, and he's a very well-known conference photographer, but he's also bridging the gap between a lot of authors and leaders and different networks through social media. He has published numerous books. You've probably seen quite a few of the pictures from the conference. People are holding up these Keep Smiling cards. And so what Ken is going to do is kind of go through the science of smiles, just to kind of give a lighthearted presentation before we break for lunch. And so without any further delay, help welcome Ken Rochon.
Thank you, Aaron. Thank you. All good? Okay. Okay, so the first year I got here, a Mac had never been used at this conference apparently, because I brought it here and they didn't know what to do with it. I didn't have adapters, and I said, uh-oh. And then the internet was down, if I recall. And then I asked people if they were on Facebook, and 3 people raised their hands. So it was a very interesting start to the Science, Energy, Technology conference. So this time I am bringing, I guess, a little proof that smiles actually make a difference. So for those of you who don't know me, I have authored 26 books, published about 186. I have a lot of books coming out of very significant influencers that actually cause smiles in the world. And part of this presentation is to ask the question, how many smiles are you inspiring or creating in the world? And it's a really good way of measuring your impact. It's also a great way to measure how abundant you can be. And I've been to 100 countries. I'm very big on making sure that my social proof is intact. So for those of you who are inventing, if you don't have social proof that says that you are either one of integrity with character or that you have sound product, it would probably impede your sales quite a bit. So I help people get the proof that they need so that when they're being searched, they're getting the success they want. So just a couple things about, this is very general, but it also needs to be said. So when you smile, you attract more abundance. And one of the reasons I was excited about talking today is because it can shift how we are as a community in here. It can also shift how we connect with each other, and it can also shift how much we learn. So if you are smiling, you are actually inviting more information and more connection. So, and you'll even fool yourself into enjoying this more. That's a pretty good deal too. And according to some studies I've looked at, you not only live a longer life, you live a healthier, happier life. So people that have been studied that just had a simple, genuine, sincere smile on their on their yearbook, when they followed them through life, they had less bumps, they had more successes, less failures, and more happy relationships. So kind of cool. So I like this quote from Mother Teresa. The book that you saw at the very beginning, they're available out there, and they're laden with a lot of this information and also a lot of quotes. So we'll never know all the good a simple smile can do. So one of the things I was concerned about if I had to go before Aaron was this unfortunate thing that happens with gravity with a bed. So if you are, everyone knows the gravity on Earth, but when you are actually trying to get out of bed, which this morning I had a really tough time coming from the East Coast, that's the kind of force that I had to overcome to get here. So I was very excited when I came into the barroom area and met this gentleman. And is Manny here? Is Manny? God bless you for being here. I saw you drinking earlier, and so I got a picture of you. So he has Manny beer. He was given some props here. He covered the Heine and Heineken so he could make it Ken beer. So thank you very much for doing that, Manny. So this is actually something that happened this year to me. And this is why I started really embracing how powerful smiles and a positive mental attitude is. I was walloped from behind on the Beltway in Baltimore, heading ironically to get a physical. So that not interesting day. And it was a horrible weather day, and I just wanted to tell my wife, I want to cancel. This does not feel like a great day to be on the road. And I went ahead and did it because with my travel, it's very hard to get these scheduled, and she hates scheduling my appointments. So I got walloped so bad that I was blacked out for 35 minutes. And nothing, I've been in accidents before, but nothing even close to this. And when I woke up, I was disoriented, actually lost memory, didn't know what happened that day. I knew my name, I knew a few things, but I did not know a lot of what was happening that day. And it was like a computer rebooting. It was very interesting. I share this with you because I was walking within minutes of that blackout, and they said, you need to go to the hospital. I said, I'm glad to go to the hospital. I'm happy to, especially since it's not my fault. Find out what kind of damage might be on someone else's pocketbook, not mine. So this is just some more of the photos. I've never seen a MacBook get folded. The impact was so high on the back that all my bags exploded. Imagine that. You know the backpack you have on your back? They exploded. The air crushing the inside of them made them all explode. And when they handed me my MacBook, and the reason I needed my MacBook was so I could call my wife, because my phone was gone. I didn't know where my phone was. It was gone. So I said, I don't know my wife's number. I better get my MacBook. Well, they gave it to me, and I still did not have my wife's number. So this is just a little story to show you February 12th. I went the next day to claim some of my belongings, and the person who had nice pierced nose and lots of really cool, colorful tattoos said to me, who are you? And I said, I'm the driver with the Prius. And he says, you're the driver? And he was actually pretty blown away. He said, I didn't think that guy was walking. So God is good, but I'll tell you, when I didn't have my phone for 14 hours, or even maybe longer than that, all I did was actually pray and give thanks that I was alive. I mean, think about it. You get an accident like that, you may be disfigured in the face, you may lose your teeth, you may lose your ability to express yourself, and I still had a smile, and I was just extremely grateful for that part. But what happened is, I think on a cellular level, my body responded. It listened, and I made miraculous, quick recovery. So out of that, I looked at where's the opportunity. So whenever anything bad happens in your life, no matter what it is, there's an opportunity around it if you look for it. And so the opportunity I had was, hey, I just lost my camera, my phone, my computer, my car. Where's the opportunity here? And the opportunity, honestly, was buy what I want. Buy what will take me to the next level now. It's not that I was abundant and rich and had $20,000 or $30,000 in my pocket ready to go to solve these problems, but I knew that what I wanted to get, I had to figure out what kind of resources I was going to need to use in order to get it. I was carless for 10 weeks, so please understand this was not a quick. So the first 4 weeks or 6 weeks, I manipulated my USAA rental car as long as I possibly could. And then I had some friends of mine that said, hey, you're in pretty bad shape right now, and I know you got all this stuff happening to you. You can borrow my car. I had one guy let me borrow his car for 4 weeks. He said, would you like to buy it? And I said, I don't know. I checked it out, and it wasn't worth buying, so I said, no, I don't want to buy it. He says, well, you're my friend. You can just use it as long as you need. So he let me borrow it for like 6 weeks. Another friend of mine had a pristine used Tesla. I wish I'd put that in my presentation. I told him he wasn't getting it back. And over the next 4 weeks, I came up with something like $14,000 or $15,000, put that down on his Tesla, and I'm making my final payment in 30 days, God willing. And it's like an $80,000 car I'm getting for $30,000 because my friend said, I don't need the car, I don't drive it, and I can go and buy another Tesla with what you have. So it's good to take care of your friends with nice smiles, okay? So I'm actually putting this book out at the end of the year to talk about what I created out of an accident and how I reset my life. And I think there's so many people in this world that don't think about, hey, my plate is full, my bowl of all the responsibilities, all the stress I have are full, I can't take another thing. Well, if you get rid of it all and you rebuild it, you'd find out you have lots of opportunities to reshift what you want to have happen in your life. So I put this slide in every single one of my presentations because it reminds me that I'm creating a world that I want to see, and I'm hopefully inspiring others to do the same. And also because I have a 5-year-old son who just turned 6. So I love this quote too. This is also in the book. Let my soul smile through my heart and my heart smile through my eyes, that I may scatter rich smiles in sad hearts. I always put this slide here too. This is a great friend who I met at an event called CEO Space. I poured a lot of money in that event, and it's something like that connection that made it all worthwhile. So when you go to events like this, you never know what's going to happen if you stay connected. So Aaron, thank you very much for the opportunity. The other power, of course, the power of Bruce. I mean, without Bruce here, we don't sound good, we don't look good, the presentations are affected. So I came in and thanked him immediately because he had this little dongle thing, because it would remind me of the day that I came without one 3 years ago, and I go, oh, I guess I'm not doing the presentation, I'll just do it live. And then this is my power one. He was born on Flag Day, and I write a book for him every single year. So he's 6 years old, he's got 6 books. He has been playing soccer, and this is what I introduced him when he was 3 years old. It says for 8-year-olds, 8+ years to 99, I think it's 8+ to 99. And I was so fascinated that you could get this on Amazon. And of course, they say, hey, if you buy this, you might want to buy this. And so I was a physics and chemistry teacher on an 8th grade level. So I taught physical science to kids to inspire them that science is actually the reason we enjoy life. Because if you look at energy and matter, that's everything. And the kids that would say they hate science, I'd say, have you ever heard of what hypocrite means? And they would say, no, what does that mean? I say, that's saying you love something but you hate it, or you hate something but you really love it. And if you really hate science, then you have to be coming to school tomorrow. No brushed teeth, no shower, no clothes, no iPad, no anything. And they said, I like science, so it was a nice shift. And so I love teaching critical thinking and problem solving to my son, so that's why this conference means so much to me, because most of the time I'm doing personal development courses, conferences, and this is one that actually talks about how we bring up the future. So these are, believe it or not, all of them I bought them. And guess what my son got at age 6? He got Spectacular Scientist Award. And I share that with ultimate pride because out of his class of, 20 kids in the class, they only gave 2 intellectual awards. All the rest were, most punctual, nicest, things like that. Funniest. My son said, I didn't want to get Spectacular Science, I want to get funniest. And I go, no, trust me. You definitely want to get Spectacular Scientist. So these are a couple books I wrote for him. And by the way, any book I show up here is available to you by ebook. I give all my books away for free electronically because of several reasons. One, you may have it impact someone. You may want to write a book. You may know someone else that needs the books, and I made a difference. So that's the big reason I do books. So there's our Power of Many a couple years ago. I love doing the group photo here every year. This is typically done on the last day, but you can see the value. Do you know that it doesn't matter what these people paid to be here? When they look like that, it shows there's an equal sign to the value, or it exceeded the value of what was charged. These are some happy brands. I just was at IHOP the other day, and I came up with this idea for the slide. I said, it's amazing how many subliminal or conscious smiles there are on brands, and it's interesting that those brands actually stand for a commitment of causing smiles. Isn't that cool? Isn't it? Oh, good, okay. All right, so I am not going to read this because it will dig into my time too much, but I will read a part of it. I'll just say the last part. So the value of a smile, yet it cannot be bought, begged, borrowed, or stolen, for it is something that is no earthly good to anyone till it is given away. And if in a hurly-burly bustle of today's business world, some of the people you meet today should be too tired to give you a smile, may we ask you leave one of yours. For nobody needs a smile so much as those who have none left to give. So I think Chick-fil-A is one of the best companies that I love frequenting, because when you go in there, you know that they are going to be positive, they're going to welcome you, and you're going to feel love there. And they actually have a very interesting training program. Not that I've been through it, but I have been to their leadership cast, and they showed their training material, and it was that someone coming in, and you see the thoughts above their head, and it said, my mom just died, or my son got hurt, or something like this. And the person's going up to the counter, and the Chick-fil-A person welcomes them with a smile and changes their day, shifts it. So this is the book that I'm going to address a little bit in this presentation. So I have seen a correlation completely I did a year experiment. I've done 2 experiments that were 1 year each. One was with a book called The Go-Giver by Bob Berg. I decided for 1 year I would not tell anyone about me. I would find out who they are and how I could contribute to them. Massively shifted my life. After 2 months, I knew that it was a great experiment to do. The second one I did was keep smiling. No matter what my day was starting like, no matter how I felt, I would think about what I'm grateful for. I would change and shift how I was being to a smile, and all of a sudden, my day changed. It was crazy. So I have seen this correlation, and if you think about the Tesla, how does a guy who has no car for 10 weeks, I didn't tell you the bonus. I bought a second car. I bought a second car the same day because I didn't know if I was going to get the Tesla. So I went to Mercedes-Benz, and they were giving away the smart cars. They were giving away for like $200 a month. Now, if you have an electric car and you don't have to put gas in it, that's almost like you're getting a car for free. Well, when I found out I was going to get the Tesla, I said, you know what, I can't really do both these cars at the same time. So I called Mercedes up and I said, hey, unless you knock the 209 down to 150 and let me do your headshots and your car shots, I just am not interested. They called me back in an hour or two. They said, we'd like you to do our headshots and our car shots, 150 is cool. So I have a car that's $5 a day. Just to go from my house in Ellicott City to Bethesda, where the Mercedes dealer is, that's 35 minutes away, that was $49 or $60 for my Lyft to get there, because I didn't have 2 cars yet. So there you go. So the smiley face, I know everyone's been wondering when that was designed. It was designed in 1963 by Harvey Bell. And for those of you who want to geek out a little bit, there's the keystrokes, and those are in the book. And again, if that book's shown on my slideshow, it is also available. All you have to do at the end of the presentation is text me your name. I'd like to see a smile. So you got to text me a selfie, and then your email address, and you can say, I want these specific books, or you can say, I guess, as Zig Ziglar would say, I'd like the whole shooting match. So something like that. So smile symbol. The symbol that has rated with the highest positive emotional content is a smile, says scientist Andrew Newberg. Dr. Newberg is a neuroscientist who studies the relationship between brain function and various mental states. Are you guys feeling like smiling more? I mean, is that gonna shift you today and throughout the conference? So the Duchenne smile is the genuine smile, and it's using all the muscles in the face, specifically the eye ones, to turn it into a sincere smile. And you see a couple examples there. So sincere and involuntary Duchenne smile, contraction of the zygomatic major and the inferior part of the orbicularis oculi. So this is why P&M went out of business, fake smiles. Probably a lot of other things, but the point is they were forced to smile instead of actually make you feel welcome. And so it's just a kind of for me, it's an end result of not being sincere. So, question for you. How many times does a child smile in a day? How many times does an adult smile in a day? Anyone care to guess? 110. You sure you don't want to say 111? Nice. Okay. 100 for the child, 10 for the adult. Does that sound pretty good? I think it sounds pretty good. It's not right, but it sounds pretty good. All right, here it is. 400 for the kid, 40. You're right on the ratio, though. Yeah, it's 10 times more. Now, fortunately, my son is a goof, so I get a lot more smiles, but also with me doing the exercises. So how many people have read Malcolm Gladwell? So Malcolm Gladwell, besides Bob Berg that I mentioned earlier, Malcolm Gladwell is a great read because it's really the proof of how we become talented. It's called trading time for a skill. So when he did an experiment, he proved that unequivocally, a person that practiced the piano, or violin 3 hours a day, was a hobbyist, 4 hours a day, was a teacher, and 5 hours a day made a living. Unequivocally. Now, that's kind of cool because that also means that if you put your 10,000 hours in, which is what he recommends if you want to be at the top of the charts, that you can smile. You can actually practice smiling. So if you don't smile that much, you are actually holding yourself back from enjoyment. You're holding yourself back from living. So this is something you can actually alter right in front of the mirror. So health and wellness is smiling. It boosts your immunity, lower blood pressure, reduces stress, and releases endorphins, among other things. So the free energy of a smile, since we're at a free energy conference, people smile when they are happy, and people are also happy when they smile. So it actually is going like this, and not crazy, just happy. all right? It's a simple act accessible to each of us, each and every one of us. So this is kind of a nice little diagram. So someone sees an expression, they mimic the expression, the mimicking of the expression gives the feeling gives the person actually the recycled energy of giving the emotion back to the person. So that's why when you smile to someone from another country, another culture, they smile back because they've just registered love or they've registered the energy you're transmitting to them that you're not losing and they're giving it back to you. So this is the typical feedback loop. Feel happy. So I feel happy, I'm going to smile, and after I smile, release of endorphins. So check this out. You aren't happy. You smile, and your brain says, oh, I'm happy. And then you release endorphins. Kind of a cool trick. That right there was worth the whole conference right there. Just that little trick. All right, it doesn't work like this. I just want to make sure that's clear. All right. I had to borrow a couple slides from last year. They were too damn good. All right. I know you guys want to see that go around and around. Anyone know what that is? Yeah, so this is actually the universe. It's our mind to our heart. It's our smile to our brain. It's the trees. So I'm going to go ahead and skip to the next one. There you go. So everywhere we look, this is happening. And I think it's so cool that I actually found this yesterday when I was flying in that I could include this in the presentation. So it's so amazing that when we're saying it's lowering blood pressure, lowering the heart blood pressure, that the smile is actually in that realm, universal realm. So there's some of the things that are derivatives of a smile: dopamine, endorphin, oxytocin, and serotonin. And this is, of course, my son, extremely ecstatic. He was in Peru that day. And we just like cracking each other up. I mean, we look at each other, we start cracking each other up. So that's one of my favorite things. So to be on the stage, I feel like I'm expected to show some formulas. So here goes nothing. Here's a couple formulas for you. So this is last year. I got a lot of laughs on this. Don't feel stressed to laugh, but I will quit and I'll walk off the stage if you don't laugh. And that's a lot of pressure, all right? No, because I want to have you start triggering smiles, I wanted to make sure I threw a couple of these slides in from last year. So it says a 2-kilogram object is released from rest at the height of 5 millimeters on a curve, frictionless ramp. At the foot of the ramp is a spring of force constant at K equals 100 newtons per meter. The object slides down the ramp and into the spring, compressing it. What is the distance of X before it comes to rest? And it goes, there is no way because of the elephant in the way. So he drew an elephant in. And then this one is one of my favorites, of course. Expand your mind and problems are easier to solve. So he expanded, of course, A plus B. And this slideshow is available also. If you hit slideshow that you want this, but this is definitely important for those of you that are very spiritual. Explain why phosphorus trichloride exists, and it's because God made it that way. And then this one is cutting edge, man. When I saw this one, I was like, man, I got to buy one of these on Amazon. So this is Home Depot releases the new Bluetooth cordless hose. Is that awesome? See, the endorphins are just kicking in like crazy right now. And this, I couldn't miss this one up. This presentation does take on the myth that Santa Claus does not exist. So I was so happy to see you here, Bob. So have you ever imagined a world with no hypothetical questions? One of my favorite books for laughing, 17 years of studying nonsense. I created a book called The No Nonsense Book on Nonsense. There is literally not one thing in here that makes sense like that. And I wrote a couple myself. This is one of the ones I wrote. If there's an exception to every rule, is there an exception to that rule? So they're all circular. I mean, there's so many, like there's Oscar Wilde, there's Steve Martin, there's all kinds of really cool comedians. That is a great book for, I have coaches that actually read that to their clients to get them in the right state of mind for the coaching. And here's another slide from last year. Think like a proton, stay positive. One of my favorites here, an object at rest will remain at rest unless acted upon by another force. And then I love this Tesla cup here. I need to find out where I can buy that. If you like Tesla, raise your hand. If you don't, raise your standards. Isn't that awesome? And then conservation is cool. So turn off the light when you're away. Jokes on you, energy is always conserved. And then I have been putting this out in the universe for 2 years. Anyone ever heard of Jack Canfield? Okay, what is so special about him? So he co-wrote with Mark Victor Hansen, The Chicken Soup for the Soul. Anyone heard Chicken Soup for the Soul? 500 million books sold. 500 million. He's doing okay, right? And he has so many other verticals that are because he cares about humanity. He cares about the principles of leadership. That would be my third book I'm recommending. If any of you say, what are the books you recommended, I'll be happy to send them to you as a text as well. But he's on my show next week. His time is worth $25,000 an hour, roughly. And for 2 years, I've been putting in the universe that I want him on my show. And here we are at this event, and he only agreed like, I don't know, 2 or 3 weeks ago. But he obviously checked out what I'm about, and he agreed because of that. I can't afford to have a guy like that on my show, but will that change my show? Will that change my life? Of course. But it was actually putting that energy out. Yes, sir? Did you?
They'll tell you that they started with multiple dozens of rejections.
Yeah, like 130 or something. Yeah, and so they met a small publisher, and the small publisher believed in them. And because that small publisher believed in them, they didn't leave them. And by the way, when they made it big, they were coaxed away. Like, we will pay you this, and they said, no, we're going to stay loyal to our publisher. Little publisher. So I really believe in sponsorship because these events are enriched because of sponsorship. So I wanted to just give a shout out. I don't like going the first day for this one reason, is I like to get more pictures of the crowd, immerse them in the slideshow, and also make sure I got the right sponsors. But these are sponsors from last year. This is a book that I wrote on how to get to 100 countries. And I share this with you because I wrote it when I had only been to 35 countries. So I wrote a book on how to get to 100 countries with the hypothesis, if what I was doing right at 35 would yield 100, that I was going to go ahead and write the book. I disclose that in the first paragraph. I say, I know how to get to 100 countries. This is my plan. I share my plan, but full disclosure, I'm at 35. I ran out of books right around 65 countries. I re-released the book, second edition, said, I'm still not at 100 books, but my plan is working. I'm now at 65. So this is a third edition. You can get it. It has the proof that I was at these countries, and I made it to 100 countries. It took me 10 years, 9 years and 8 months, to be exact. Out of that, I created 2 products because people saw my photos of my travel, and they said, hey, let's do a gallery showing of your work. I said, I would love to do that. So I made these 2 books, and they also are available to you. They're my best photos. So think about this. I throw away, not delete, but I archive, because I can't get to them, roughly 17,000 to 18,000 photos a year. They're not bad. They're all actually good, but I don't have time to do them. So I archive them. I'm only taking my best 100 over like 15 years, and I put them in this book. To show you a couple of them, there's one. So going to places that are like 5-star hotels, 7-star hotels, that's the inside of the place. These are some shots I took in Nevada over the last year. These, I'm starting to do book covers. You know that saying, don't judge a book by its cover? That's exactly how you buy them. That's exactly why you hold them. If a book is friggin' genius and it has a crappy cover, you won't touch it. Because your assumption is that's what they put on the outside, that's got to be what they put on the inside. Isn't that crazy? So I make dynamic covers because I know that's the only shot I got of them taking the book and looking at it at least. So I now do these book covers, and those are some trees in some interesting parts of the world. So how many of you have authored a book? Okay. So those of you who have authored a book, you know how hard it is to sell a book without good marketing. I'll give you guys the mathematical, if you'd like to hear, on why books make it and don't make it. So mathematically, out of roughly 100 people in a room that say they want to write a book, only 2 people do it. The reason why is most people can't finish it, they can't figure it out, they run out of money, they run out of basically solutions. The 2 people that do it, the 1 or 2 people that do it, if you take all of them and add them to 100 again, only again 2, maybe 3 actually get their money back. So their resources, their time, everything is so poor, they actually sell an average of about 20 books, they never do it again. And they think it's their fault, but it's not. The reason they did so poorly is because they never came up with a strategy for the book to come out. So I'll give you the skinny on what I've learned on doing so many books and why my books succeed. A book, if you think about it, is something you're delivering to the world. And if you use the word delivery as in birth, you'll actually get the right way to treat a book. So most people deliver a book by printing it, checking it off, bucket list done, and they never feed it again, and the book dies. A book that's delivered in the world as someone that wants to create a legacy, feeds it marketing dollars, carries it with them, gives it away, nourishes it, and next thing you know, the book actually takes care of the author. So the rule of thumb is 10 to 1. Just like the gentleman was saying about the kids to adults, you put 10 times your money into the marketing. Now here's the thing, if you don't have that, you've got to figure out how to do 10 times the effort, but the value of that. So if you went to 100 events with your book, that's still counting that you're investing in your book, all right? So I've done crazy books like this. This is one of my favorite books, Art of Photobombing. I have people that are so friggin' successful doing photobombs behind people, all right? So I came up with a theory, a human behavior theory, and that is that the more successful you are, the less you care what other people think of you. Is that pretty cool? Now, why I say that is because I would see people that were in suits and they were just dynamic, but they would never shift and be silly or be a fool. And I found out later that these people really not only cared about what other people thought of them, but they also had very limited abundance. So I encourage you to feel free to be you and not care about other people, and you'll find your abundance rises pretty dramatically. So these are a couple folks when you get some of my Keep Smiling books, you won't believe the people I've photographed. And I have literally like 3 seconds to convince them that my card and my movement's worth their time. John Travolta, 3 seconds. George Takei, 3 seconds. I mean, all of them that are really big, they don't have time to have an explanation of why am I holding this card or anything. You want to hear my magic saying? Yeah. Okay. I go up to someone like John Travolta and I say, hello, Mr. Travolta. My name's Ken Rochon with the Umbrella Syndicate. I have something called the Keep Smiling Movement. I show him Quincy Jones or some other significant person. I say, I would like to honor you in this book because you caused so many smiles in the world. That's it. He goes, cool. Like, it's so deliberate and so easy to understand. So I batted 100%. It's insane. 100%. But think about this, though. I'm choosing people that are actually doing it. I will tell you, if you go to people that hate people or hate life or whatever, you probably will have them go, basically, why are you bothering me, or something worse, right? So these are some cool people that have that I've captured their spirit and their smile and their passion for what they do. Again, all these are available in the books in there or electronically by me. Kind of a dream come true to be standing in that crowd. Awesome. And these are some other brilliant speakers. How about him? You know what? I was so privileged when they asked for that photo in the middle for John when he passed. And I will tell you, he told me he didn't like to smile, but I goofed with him for 3 days, and he finally gave me that gift, his smile. And he's got a gorgeous smile. So we've got the smile cards in 24 languages. You're welcome to have them, take them, and disperse them. It's kind of cool, but you could get a photographer to actually adopt this movement and make you a superstar, and I make the photographer a superstar. That's how big this program is. We had to figure out, when we're dealing with people that have 1 million followers, and they want us to put them in the book, but they don't have the shot, how do we solve that problem? How do you solve that problem? But we have to do it with professional camera. So this is all done professionally. So they get a photographer, and the photographer has to shoot raw with a professional camera, but they hold a white card. They've already given us permission, so they hold a white card, and we get the card, we take the white card, and we put the Keep Smiling right on top of it. I just came up with this like a month ago, because we were getting people that had 1 million followers, and we just couldn't fly to see them, so we said, if you can get the professional shot, send it to me raw, I'll figure it out with the white card. So these are some of the other languages, 24 languages. So you just heard Aaron do this really super dynamic presentation. I'm glad that he went before me because I could actually have this slide resonate with you at a higher level. But over the course of this conference, you're going to have your life change for so much better for lots of reasons. One is the people that are here, 2, the information you get, and 3, the information you're going to apply to your life that changed your life. So I would highly encourage you to go to the conference and put a 5-star review. We certainly need more reviews there, and it's letting people that are like-minded and like-hearted like you know that this is the place they should be. So these are some other Keep Smiling themes. I'm really excited about doing this mastermind theme. It's all the great minds that actually put together and shifted the world, and basically the world even told them what you're contemplating is impossible, and yet they convinced the world and they changed the world because they were thinking so big. So that's my mastermind one that's going to be coming out. We even have the bald edition. And by the way, I promise you, it was for me. Last August, I gave this to myself as a gift. I took pictures of every single bald person and I put them all in one book and showed that people can be pretty bold with their baldness, right? Here's some new themes. Thank you. So here's some lovely key smiles here. And I won't bug you, but I certainly would love to get a capture a shot because they do go in the book. They do give you some nice exposure. Anyone know Frank in the middle there? Top? I love that guy. Really wish he was here this time. So this is a concept that you guys can consider. Those of you who have not written a book or those of you who have written a book, we have figured out how to get you a book done in 2 hours. And please understand, if I've done 186 books and I'm a scientist, I do have a reason I said that time. So I'm going to prove it right now. We have come up with a template system that allows you to feed into a book that's 80% done, your story. And the story that we're going to share with the world is the story that's actually going to inspire people to buy from you. And when I say buy from you, I'm saying whatever you're selling. Even if it's selling an email list, whatever it's selling, they will buy from you. So the 2 reasons people buy right now from the studies I've been doing is, number 1, how much you are a leader that inspires. That's number 1. How good your storytelling is, how good your authenticity is, and how much you can inspire. That's number 1. Number 2 is that the world agrees that that's true, and that's called reviews. So if you look at this book, I'm putting 99 other scientists in the book, and you're telling your story. They're learning about you for the first time. Do you know that most authors do a download of the content, but not their heart? Most authors, you do not fall in love with the author. You might fall in love with the material and the content. This book, for the first time, changes all that. You tell your story of who you are. And here is a science behavior study for you, formula. The bigger your who is, means the more you had to overcome. So more challenges, more failures, more obstacles, whatever. The more you overcame, the bigger your who became. So think about the kid who's spoiled and they don't have to ever do anything. They're lazy. How big is their who? Pretty small. So a person that might be homeless, had one parent, got beaten all the time, you'd expect them to be a fallout, a fail-out. They're not going to make it. They overcame it all. How big is their who? Massive. They're the one you want next to you if you're in the military. They're the one you want next to you if you're a partner, because they won't quit. So the bigger your who is, the bigger your why is. Now the good news is when I speak at leadership conferences like this, everyone is in the top 1%, so their who is already really cool. But who knows that? And the who is your story. So when people see what you overcame, they fall in love with you. It's so funny. I don't have really a lot of things I overcame as a child, but I'm persistent as anything. I mean, the Jack Canfield's kind of an example. But if someone stood on stage and they say, you know, I went to prison, I did this, I did that, and they overcame everything. Now they're making this huge difference in the world. You fall in love with them because they were humbled and they could have lost, they could have given up, and they didn't. So that's how big the who can be for you. Then the why, I just told you about that. The bigger your who, the bigger your why. And then the how is the most important part. How do you create abundance? How do you solve problems? And how do you actually inspire hope and smiles? So who, why, how? It's like a TED Talk on steroids. And it goes into this format that you know from your heart that you're just downloading. Isn't that cool? This is a book that if you give it to people, they will connect with you. They can't help it. You just were vulnerable. You just told who you are, and they said, I like who you are. What are you selling? What can I buy from you? Am I right? The last part is the bio, your brag session, your accolades, whatever you want to put down that wasn't part of your journey that you want to say you accomplished. And then the cover, how you want the cover to look, and done. Is that pretty cool? So anyone that wants this template, it's a great exercise even if you don't do a book. It's a phenomenal exercise, I promise you. I have 100 people doing this exercise this month. And I'm going to release these 100 to Ellen and Oprah. I'm mailing 100 books from 100 different authors that are leaders that I respect, that have blown me away. Aaron is one of them. And I'm sending them Ellen and Oprah. I'm saying in this big, it might be a yellow pillow. I haven't come up with this yet, but I'm mailing it in the beginning of August. It's going to have a zipper, like a smiley face. You open it up, and there's 100 books in there, and there's going to be a letter that says, You know, Ellen, Oprah, the people in here are unsung heroes. They're changing the world. Embrace them, help me amplify them, and let's watch the world get better. Like, it's a real simple statement. But I want to do that. And just to show you how big this is, I mean, I added up, and it's like 10 million people will be reached by this 100 books. 10 million. I've never done anything close this big, so please do not think that this is just a norm for me. 2 months ago, when I did that reset conversation with myself, I said, my birthday's coming up in August. What's the biggest thing I can think of that I could do? It would be challenging as hell, but I'd do it. I've never done more than 2 books in a month. I said, getting 100 books done in 1 month would be something I've never come close to. And I told my team my crazy idea. I told them what our pace had to be. And because the onus is on the author to write the 2 hours, I have to just have the templates ready to go. So I can actually do 4 to 10 books a day. Believe it or not, I figured out the system. And that's what everything is, the system. Frank Shankowitz is one of the authors. He has a movie coming out. My last 4 guests on my radio show, 3 of them said that Wishman is the best movie they've ever seen, or the best movie out that they've seen recently. Wishman by Frank Shankowitz is the true story of how a man who was a cop and got in this horrible accident, much like mine, but he was on a motorcycle, came up with the crazy notion after taking care of a kid with lupus or something like that, said, I'm making him a wish. He wants to be a police officer, an Arizona police officer. I'm making that wish possible. And he says, why can't we do that for others? Amazing. 450,000 wishes later, because a man thought of that crazy idea. Robert Clancy, a friend of mine, 1 million followers. He writes a quote, and it lights up because he's brilliant at writing inspirational quotes. And then Dr. Ivan Meisner, for those of you who may have heard of BNI, Business Network International, it's so coveted to have him because he doesn't do this. Chased him for 7 or 8 months. I even flew out to him. When he finally said he'd meet me, I had to buy a flight, fly out to him for 1 hour. Boom. Got to drink wine with him. 2 or 3 hours later, he says, yeah, I'll do it. But he was very instrumental because his policy or his motto is givers gain. So that really is aligned with the Keep Smiling movement. So picture your book here. That's really important. Picture your book here. If your book was done by me and you allowed me the privilege of working with you, your book would be everywhere because I amplify goodness. I care about a book living. This is the 50-book challenge. I'm going to be rewriting it soon, but it's still a great book. This is the 50 books that I recommend to people to read that'll change their life. You want to hear how you do it? 1 book a week, 1 hour each book. You don't finish it. I'm not asking you to finish books, but take 1 book, read an hour of it, and I guarantee at the end of the year you'll be a whole different person, a whole better person, because these kind of books, no matter which books you pick, but these books specifically, will take you to another game. If you like the slides, I have slides from multiple years. Happy to send them to you, including this event. So the secret of a successful partnership. How many people have had partnerships that failed? Anybody? Okay, there's usually some lopsidedness in a partnership, and so it fails. So I have had great partnership after great partnership after great partnership in the last 8 years when I came up with this definition of what a partnership is that's successful. And it is a competition of unconditional giving. I promise you, if you can actually get someone to agree to that competition, you will actually have a partnership that lasts. Because if you think about it, a normal partnership is about what I can get out of the partnership. And so it drains it. There's no money left. There's no energy left. But a partnership where there's unconditional giving, it's constantly building and grows. So may the mass times acceleration be with you. I say that with love. So if you'd like any of these books, they cost more than I'm selling them for. The color books cost more than $20 to make. They're like $27, I think. If you look at them, they're gorgeous magazine. They won't be this price after this conference. The Science of Smiles, those are $20. If you want to buy a bunch of them, I can send you an order of them for like $10 each or something like that. If you see ways to improve the book, you get credit in the book. I want the book to be better and better, so I like reprinting books over and over again with better examples, better proof. And then this is a sneak peek at the Keep Smiling Tesla one. So, I mean, it's just gorgeous book. And then I don't have enough of these, so I mispacked, I guess. But Aaron did a really gorgeous book, and it is over the last 3 years. If you want these books, they would be a pre-order. I will tell you that I sell the books for $100 because I use the money to actually help kids with smiles, or we actually pay for the Aaron hotels that, believe it or not, cost $1,500 every time I want to do a Keep Smiling Movement event. It's $1,500 minimum out of my pocket just to get on the plane. And it can get a lot higher, but this is the type of stuff I want the Keep Smiling Movement to do. I want it to change kids' lives that can't make a smile. I want to change kids' lives that have been abused and deserve to smile. So if you want to text me at this number, 202-701-0911, there's one thing missing here. I apologize. I really do want to see your smile. It's probably the most important part of the text to me. I'll leave you with a ninja trick that I have learned only recently. I've been a professional networker for probably since at least 2008. And that just simply means when I go into an event, I typically can come out with business. So the secret is not to meet everyone, it's to meet 3 people that you really want to work with and serve. So this is very important. When you meet people here, you're going to be inclined to give a card, take a card. Pretend like the card doesn't exist. Get your phone out, do a text, say hello to them, and then get a selfie shot together with you smiling. It'll anchor the connection. I'm done, by the way, Aaron. So have an electric smile, and that's my upcoming book. So thank you very much. Keep smiling.
Thank you, Ken.